Hello, girls, guys, or otherwise. This is Rich with your Witchy Book Club series. We are starting the Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft by Christopher Penzak. Before we get into that, let me go ahead and thank our patrons on Patreon. Thank you, Linda and Sophia. If you would like to be a patron on Patreon, it goes towards starting a Christo-Pagan church here on YouTube. You can hit up the link down below. If you would like to get something tangible for your money, you can hit up the eBay link down below. It doesn't necessarily go to the Christo-Pagan church. However, it does go towards supporting this channel, keeping the lights on, keeping food in my stomach. Always much appreciated. Hit up the link down below. If you do not have the funds to be able to support this channel or to support the endeavor of a Christo-Pagan church here on YouTube, there are other ways that you can help this channel. You can hit up the subscription link, button right there. You can hit the bell notification so you get notified whenever new videos come out. You can hit the thumbs up or thumbs down button. Doesn't matter to me. It all appeases the algorithmic gods of YouTube. Oh, hell, the algorithmic gods of YouTube. And if you have done all of that, be sure to hit up the comment section down below if I brought up a topic, or if you would like a topic discussed, especially relating to our book club series here, the Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft. Hit up the comment section down below. Let's get a conversation going. And if you have done all of that, and if it is safe for you to do so, consider sharing this on your social media platforms. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get into this book. I will say that there is a link down below. If you do not have a copy of this book yet, that is an Amazon link. I do encourage people to get their books from a local bookstore or a witchy store. Support your local businesses rather than Amazon as much as possible, if that is possible for you to do so. As per usual, whenever we start a new book in the series, let's look at when this was printed and originally published, and what printed edition I am going from, so that if there is a dated reference, that we can at least have a time frame to look at when this was said originally. This book was originally published in 2005. And I have the first edition, fourth printing. I do believe in the recent years, I know with the inner temple and the outer temple, I'm pretty sure they have done anniversary editions. However, I don't know if they've gotten to the Shamanic Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft yet. That I'm not sure. And from what I was told, the big difference is actually just a difference in the covers, which I'm okay with the covers of these. I think the covers of these are really nicely done and whatnot. I would not necessarily want to change that. So, if you have a newer edition, your page numbers may be different than the page numbers that I have. With all that being said, in our grandest of traditions, what we do here, if this is your first time with our book series, or Witchy Book Club series, I read either the first sentence or first couple of sentences of each of each chapter, and see how that introduces the chapter in its entirety. And then that's just purely from a writing aspect, to see how the first chapter reflects on the rest of it. The rest of the time I will be giving page numbers and referencing the area that I'm going to be talking about, and then go on a little riffing tour as to what that either reminds me of, a discussion that I would like to have, and whatnot. So, in our grandest of traditions, we start on page 1, the Witchcraft and Shamanism. I'm sorry, I need to get my hair cut before I go down to this wedding. I'm actually recording this on the 19th of June, and you're going to be getting this like the first weekend in July. I think it's July 2nd. No, oh yeah, July 2nd. Yep. So yeah, by the time I'm at this point, whenever y'all are seeing this, I will have actually gotten a haircut and everything. I just wanted to let it grow out so it can get styled and everything for the wedding. Even though I'm not part of the wedding party, I still want to get the sides all trimmed up. I don't want to waste money on getting a haircut too far before I leave. But anyway, all that out of the way. We're looking on page number 1, Witchcraft and Shamanism. And he states, to most people, witchcraft and shamanism appear to be two distinct and separate disciplines. The general public associates shamanism with the holy healing people of the native tribes, while they associate witches with spells, potions, Halloween, and, due to popular misconceptions, evil. The two seem worlds apart, but in reality they come from a very similar root. And I do agree with this. Especially, he lays out the claim in the first couple sentences of the chapter, and he definitely delivers on how they are related and whatnot throughout the rest of the chapter. And I really appreciate that. I think it was well written. And my next note is on page 2. Core concepts to the practice of shamanism include the following: the ability to enter an altered state of consciousness through the use of sound, rhythm, movement, and plants, the experience of one or more non-physical realities that are just as real as the practitioner as the physical world, and of actions in the non-physical worlds that directly affect the physical world. The use of an altered state, a trance sometimes defined as an ecstasy, to project self-awareness from the physical world to the non-physical worlds. Dealings with non-physical beings or spirits who enter into a relationship with the practitioner. They offer guidance, healing, or power used to create change in the non-physical world. The reason I wanted to point this out is it gives a baseline of what the core concepts of shamanism is. Now, me not being well versed in shamanism, this is going to be a very intellectual path going down or through this book, so I'm actually really excited about this. The inner temple and outer temple introduced us to the bare basics of the Western occult tradition, and this gives us more of a feel for the to borrow the phrase from modern magic, the low witchcraft type of shamanism, where it's more down to earth and whatnot, not ceremonial and up on the hill and whatnot. And I'm really appreciating that. So I'm really excited to get into the shamanism part, and I really appreciate whenever people put core concepts of a practice right there on the second page. It's fantastic. Continuing to page 3. This practice of using the word shaman is a generic label that has led to a bit of confusion and some difficult feelings. Those involved in the native tribes feel that culturally it is their word and resent it being used as a generic label or default term. Modern pagans sharing a similar spiritual history with tribal communities should be sensitive to these feelings and make an effort to create bridges of understanding. And this, as it does with other books that I've read, not only from Christopher Penzek, but also with Modern Magic with Donald Michael Craig. I also made the point there about cultural appropriations. And I've talked about it on this channel before, that whenever it comes to cultural appropriation, for one, we're all going to have different meanings for a word. If you lay down the word and the terms and what you mean when you say XYZ, then it just makes everything easier, so everybody's on the same playing field. You can just plainly tell people, hey, whenever I talk about this is what I mean, and then we're all coming at this from the same point. However, if I say, you know, this one term, you may have a drastically different view of what this term is, and it can cause issues. Now, whenever we're talking about that with cultural appropriation, if we're talking about the practice and whatnot part of cultural appropriation, which some people find offensive, you know, I've talked about this before, and what it comes down to for me is, are you honoring the tradition that it comes from, at its base, at its core? If you are honoring to that and respectful of that, and not just picking and choosing and saying, I'm adding this because I need this, it's mine now. You know, that if you're not just saying mine, 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 and you're actually respectful of the tradition that it originally comes from, let's be honest, that that tradition probably took it from another tradition and another tradition, and it goes back even further. However, if you're respectful to where the line is drawn, that the term shamanism is often associated with native tribes, then be honoring of that and be upfront of, this is what I mean whenever I'm talking about shamanism, not necessarily what native tribes are discussing whenever talking about shamanism. And I want to respect their tradition and their way of practicing their faith, and I want to be honoring of that. I want to be respectful of that. However, I use this term in this way, and this is what it means to me. If you make that difference, but also have that respect and that reverence towards the other, the culture that it originally comes from, I think you're okay, personally. Um, Other people may disagree with me, and we can have a continuing discussion on that in the future. But that's really kind of where my baseline is on that. Now, moving on to page 11, under the Native North American, I have this underlined. Just so y'all know, whenever I do my readings and whatnot, I am going through the Kindle version and listening while it is, listen to it be read. And I also go through the physical copy that I've had for years, and I underline the parts that I wish to discuss. Sometimes I'll even make some notes in the margins of what that reminds me of, if it's not something on topic necessarily. So if this is your first time with this witchy book club series, that's why I'm saying I underlined it and whatnot, marked it up in my book. And a lot of these books are actually going to end up being reference materials for years to come, so as they have been all this time. Now I'll just have read them all the way through. Anyway, let's get back to page 11, Native North American. Here he's talking about different areas and whatnot, different practices throughout the world that either use the word shamanism or have this term of shamanism in there. He says, when discussing shamanism, most people who are unaware of the Siberian origins of the word automatically assume that you're talking about the medicine people of the Native American tribes. I want to stop there real quick. And I don't want to be disrespectful of Native American tribes, or as they are now known, First Peoples. So if I am saying Native American, or the horrible term of American Indian, I actually prefer to more commonly use First Peoples. And the reason I'm using Native American is because that is the wording that the book here gives. So I don't want to get in the habit of trying to change terminology while doing this book study. But do know that most commonly I use the term First Peoples. Anyway, he goes on to say, although viewed as a single culture by many, each tribe has its own mythology, rituals, songs, and traditions. And that's one thing I wanted to note, was that, for one, that is the common area, or the common sect of people that people associate with shamans and whatnot, or shamanism. It comes from native tribes. However, it doesn't. But that's what we more commonly, at least in the United States, more commonly associate with the term shamanism. Now, with that being said, they there are people out there that whenever they hear the word shamanism, they think that all First People tribes had the same practice or same set of practices, had the same mythologies and everything, which they did not. Your let's see, your Comanche is going to be different from the Cherokee, from the Apache. Um, they're all going to be different practices and whatnot, and that is important to note. If you are living in an area that was the land of First Peoples, and you are working closely with them, or you are wanting to respect their practice, their way of practice from before colonization totally wiped them out, or wiped a lot of people out. If you want to honor that and try to heal some of those wounds, it would behoove you to learn some more about the tribes that were there, and the individual holy people of that said tribe. Try to learn that as much as possible, at least to be respectful of that and try to heal some of those wounds. Something that, looking back in my ancestry, that I would like to do, because yeah, my family goes back to, well, part of my family goes back to the Mayflower, and yeah, there were definitely some horrible colonization, um, situations, attacks, massacres, if you want to go that far, which I would not be opposed to calling it such. That certain members of my ancestry were a part of. As far as I have found, I don't have any slavery that was any slave holders that are part of my family or were part of my family, but I do have accounts um, of people of my family being in battles with First Peoples of this nation. So something that I would, while studying this book, want to try to rectify, to heal. Even though we are, what, 6, 8, 10 generations separated, I still want to try to heal those ancient wounds that are there. So something that, if you are in a similar situation, maybe you would like to try this as well. But back to my original point, is that if you are trying to, especially if you're trying to heal these wounds, maybe learn something about the individual tribes or the individual practices of the said tribes, which is something that I would have to do for the Western Pennsylvania all the way out to originally New Jersey as part of it, and up to Massachusetts. So yeah, something I'm definitely going to have to do, and figure out what tribes were in what areas and what exactly the situations from the past were part of my family. Moving on to page 13. Let me get a drink first. Not sponsored by Pepsi. Pepsi, you want me to hawk your shit? Let me know. Page 13. Modern people need modern traditions, but must pay homage to the past. Okay. Totally forgot that I even underlined that, but definitely, like, something I was just talking about with cultural appropriation. And I even talked about this with modern magic, with the last lesson of that, is that we start to make different or new changes to our practice and whatnot, and we give this to the next generation, and the practices of Raymond Buckland are not going to be the same as mine, are not going to be the same as the next generation of witches and pagans coming up into the world now. They're going to be different. They're going to be slightly different here and there. They're going to be similar in other aspects. But whenever you are changing part of your practice, just remember to always honor that past. Pay homage to those who came before you, especially whenever it comes to your magical practice. If you learn things from Raymond Buckland, Scott Cunningham, Donald Michael Craig, Christopher Penczak, if you are learning something from these individuals, especially the ones who have already passed, remember to pay homage to them in some way, shape, or form, even just by saying thank you. That's one thing that I may need to incorporate into my practice, is having a tradition altar, or like an ancestor altar, except with those who are ancestors of the craft, and having a candle lit for the individuals who paved the way for us to be here today, paying homage to that past, but also knowing that they laid the foundation work for us to be where we are today. But that does not mean that we have to stay in the same practice that they had. And yeah, I think that's all that I have. He does mention a lot of individuals here, that, you know, different influential members of the pagan community, and eventually I would like to... Oh, geez, where did it go? Nope. I thought I had it over here. This one? I don't think it's this one. Nope, it's not this one. Oh, there it is. This one. It's called Ancestors of the Craft by Christopher Penczak. I would like to go through this one in the future, and maybe as just a little pop-up. And what this book does is it goes through for different individuals. Let me see if I can pull somebody up here. This is and they're written by different individuals. It is more or less, if I'm remembering correctly, compiled by Christopher Penczak, edited by Christopher Penczak. There you go. It's the lives and lessons of our magical elders. This one is Doreen Valiente, and mother of modern Wicca, and, you know, it has a little blurb in here by Matthew Sawicki. I do apologize if I mispronounced that. Tells a little bit about her life, a little bit about her practice, and, you know, basically who they were and whatnot. There's a Scott Cunningham one in here that is that I read that was very nicely done. I believe it was by his sister. But yeah, I would like to eventually go through this one and put pictures of the magical elders of our past. Put the pictures up in like a multimedia presentation while reading one of these stories out of here. I don't even know how many, and now, you know, I'm just going off now on stuff on this book now. But there has to be a good handful of individuals in here. Yeah, I'd say there's just off the top of my head, I'd say probably about 20 to 40 individuals, and I'm not even trying to go through and count right now, but I'd say there's between 20 and 40 individuals in there ish, and I think that would be a fun presentation to get to know some of our magical elders. So something to keep in mind for in the future. Maybe that's something I'll do for the next year is start putting these together and start recording the audio and the visual stuff for going through that book. But anyway, that's all that I had for this week for the Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft. Chapter 1, nice chapter. Fairly easy listen if you're listening on the Kindle, or fairly easy read. That's what I like about Christopher Penzak, is he's not too highbrow. He doesn't try to talk over your head or anything. He's very plain spoken in the way that he presents his material. So that was chapter 1 of the Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft by Christopher Penzak. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and let me know what you think about doing the multimedia presentation of Ancestors of the Craft. I think that would be a very cool endeavor to do for some of our magical elders or magical ancestors. So yeah, let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below. And that's all that I have for this week. Join me next week for the Tarot Talk Tuesday, and we will be going on the Three of Pentacles. Wow, I have to think about this because I'm doing this like a couple weeks ahead of time. But anyway, that's all I have for today. Until next time, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye.